Welcome to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome, also known as Dammit Bennett out in the gaming community. But as the Director of Esports Growth and Development here at Full Sail University, I'm super passionate about exploring the diverse world of esports and gaming beyond just skill level. So whether you're a first-time listener or a returning fan, we're thrilled to have you join us for this virtual journey through the experiences of industry professionals. So get ready to engage with our guests and learn from their perspectives. Remember to submit your questions in chat and we'll get them featured on the show. But let's sit back, enjoy the ride as we kick off another episode of Have Game Will Travel with my good friend Sean Kelly. Sean, welcome to the show. How's it going, man? How you doing?
Yeah. So, hey, everybody. My name is Sean Kelly. I'm the Director of Production and Outreach at Syracuse University. Real quick, 30-second rundown. I've only been there for about a year. January will be my 1 year date. And I run everything involved with production, outreach, content creation, not only helping students kind of find their way in that path, but also my background is all in live production. And I'm sure we'll talk about all that over the next hour.
Absolutely. So obviously, you know, Syracuse is new for you, but Shenandoah played a big role in your journey. Talk to us just kind of about getting started. What got you into esports? What inspired you to pursue a career in production?
Yeah. So I did not know about esports like a lot of people coming out of high school. I actually got recruited to play soccer at Shenandoah. That's the whole reason I found that school. I got reached out to by a coach. I came out there for a tryout. They loved me. I loved the campus. So that's where I decided to go. I signed there my senior year of high school. So I played D3 soccer for a year. At the same time, I just came in as a regular business management major or business management information systems major.
Okay.
So like every other welcome week, we got kind of talked to by the rest of the professors in the business school. And one of those happened to be Joey Garuziak, who was one of their tenured sports management professors. He stood up in front of all of the freshmen new to the campus and said, "Hey, I think we're going to start this competitive video game thing. If you guys play video games, if you guys want to like check that out, come up." And I don't know why my 18-year-old self had a little bit of courage and decided to go. And that resulted in me playing Overwatch for 2 years as the captain, Valorant for a year. And then when COVID hit, I jumped really hard into content creation. So for a lot of people, while we were home during COVID, streaming was like a very big thing that a lot of people got into. And I was one of them. I actually started as a content editor for a small org that me and somebody started up. So I was editing Apex videos like weekly.
Yeah.
And that's how I worked through the pandemic. And then when we got back to Shenandoah, the fall of 2020, NCAA had suspended all sport play. And Joey and I were talking and I said, I've been really enjoying this streaming thing. It's been fun. What if we did it for Shenandoah games? Like we're going to keep competing. There's an inherent fan base of Shenandoah students and parents and other things. Like what if we just started streaming? And the rest is history. So I started doing that, got really into that, started learning that, started self-teaching, was lucky enough to land an internship out of NYC with a company called OS Studios and OS NYC. So I worked for them remotely for about 6 months and then worked in person in New York down in Chinatown for the summer of 21. And I've just continued to kind of hone my craft when it comes to live production.
That's awesome. And so it all kind of spawned out of like a left turn, right? Like we all had that during COVID. Like we were like, okay, what do we do now? Like we have to do something different. And for you, that was like streaming, that was content creation, that was finding a new avenue to kind of continue to do and learn things that you were interested in. After that kind of shift, where did you see like career wise going? Like you obviously, you're going for a specific type of degree, but this esports production thing has really started to, get into the system, right? You were editing videos. Apex was a big part of that. What shift did you find that working as a student through that gave you opportunities to grow in your career?
So I originally started, like I said, as a video editor, and I still really enjoy video editing. It's something that I'd like to get back into at some point. But when we came back and started doing live production, I found a very quick love for the like high intensity that is a live show, and the hunt for wanting to get better. So I kind of had this realization before COVID. I was thinking about going into just like pure business, kind of the front office of an org. But I just kind of stumbled into streaming. And when we started doing shows, I've learned really quickly how much I liked it. Not to out myself a little bit. We talked about it in Atlanta. I talked with Danielle Rorick. I was a theater kid, and I was a vocal performer for a while in high school and middle school and all those things. So I liked kind of the intensity of you need to be on your game, or you need to be able to hide it really well. So the idea of being a part of a live show has now something I don't ever want to take away from. I also really liked the idea of being a part of a live show for esports compared to news or even sports, because I felt like there was almost this idea of like, you didn't have to be so polished. Like I can't put crazy effects and flames and all these things in a news broadcast, but I can in an esports.
I mean, it could be a cool news broadcast with some explosions going off, like.
Yeah, I liked kind of how free you could be. That like, and I mean, I think you see it in collegiate right now that there's no two shows the same.
Exactly.
And you really get to kind of show off your creative talent in a live broadcast setting more so than some of the cut and dry stuff that traditionally people would go into.
For sure. I think there's a whole level of creativity that, these events really bring to the table. I know that we've had a bunch at Full Sail that each one has always been different, right? Like it's been, hey, let's try this time. Let's try that. And that is like a drive for our team here when they get to be creative. They get to try new and execute new ideas. And I know for yourself, you've done that as well. Events like Calling All Heroes, and you guys did a Dead by Daylight thing, and then there was Boost on the Beach, which is a huge one. So I would love to hear a little bit more about kind of your guys' process of building these types of events and putting on these live events.
So I also have the privilege of working with some really amazing people that I only have to worry about focusing on the live show. Right. So the team that I've been extremely lucky to work with, both at Shenandoah and now Syracuse, I'm not wearing 100 different hats. I get to fully jump into the idea of being in production, and that allows me to do a lot more, in my opinion. Some of the shows that we've run are kind of insane. Having the ability to give students the opportunity to work on shows that are getting tens of thousands of views at a time is not something I thought we would be tackling when I first started. Being able, I don't like talking about it because I feel like it's bragging, but like I can't believe that I've been able to produce a show that went out on Blizzard channels. Like that's insane. My creative process is I try to work on the macro into the micro. So when we look at an event like Boost, when we work as a team to make sure we figure out kind of what the tournament structure is going to be like, all of these other things that are going to happen that make sure that the players are getting a good experience. And once we figure that out, I get to make a show around how do they get a good experience online. So what games can we show? How do we show as many teams as we possibly can? What are the processes of getting more than just gameplay or gameplay and casters on the show? And that just depends on kind of our personnel and how much lead up time we have.
Yeah, I like that. And obviously there's a lot of challenges that come with these live events, right? That have different kind of processes that you're going to have to tackle as you go through them. Are there any specific things that you've done and experienced, doing some of these events, obviously doing a esports event near the beach and, at a place that maybe isn't built for, competitive gaming? What were some of those challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
So Boost on the Beach is a crazy one. For anyone that doesn't know what Boost on the Beach is a Rocket League invitational that's hosted in Myrtle Beach. The Myrtle Beach Tourism Board asks us as in Shenandoah and Syracuse University to actually come out and put on an event for them. They see it as a marketing expense to a different side of people that also want to come vacation somewhere. But we are in a very non-traditional venue. We're in a restaurant, and a restaurant that likes to party. So their whole gimmick, it's called the Hangout. There, I think, are only 2 in the country, one in Myrtle Beach and one down in Alabama or Louisiana or something. Their whole stick is they're a family-oriented place, but you get up and dance on a table every hour on the hour. So that comes with a slew of issues because you can't run an event like you would normally, because you have 10-year-olds jumping up on a table to do the floss,
right?
While you're in the middle of trying to get your Game 5 series, like, come from behind win, right? So we have to build in and do different things that kind of work with the venue. My favorite story to tell from doing the show there was the first year. They have 2 really big video boards for viewing. Usually it's like sports and other things, and then when they do the show, their show, they have the cameras inside the venue that go on. Their AV system didn't allow for like outside tech to come in.
Oh no.
Or if you were to use the computer, the audio wouldn't come through. So we had to figure out a way to get the audio to sync with the video, even though they were running off 2 different programs. So after like hours of troubleshooting this, we decided to stream to both Twitch and YouTube. So what you do is you have Twitch go to the monitor so that goes out, and then you have YouTube going to the audio system because the YouTube live stream allows you to pause.
Yeah.
So we paused and played until we caught them up together, and then we left it alone for 2 days.
I love that. But that's kind of that quick thinking that you have to figure out in the situation, right? There's thousands of those instances that happen in live event production where, okay, we got to figure something out. Let's make it work, and you guys made it work, and that's awesome. What was the kind of catalyst for the transition from Shenandoah to Syracuse? I obviously know a lot about it, but I would love for you to kind of explain how that process went for you and how that opportunity presented.
Yeah, so I think it's tough. It's always tough to leave a job. And this past year has taught me there was a lot more under the hood to transitioning like this than I thought. Shenandoah was my home for 6 years. But as a 24-year-old, I wanted something new. Winchester is in a very rural spot in Virginia. I grew up in New Jersey. I like the kind of the hustle and bustle. When I was in New York, I loved the hustle and bustle. I wanted something personally that had a little more going on for my personal life. I wanted the ability to do more. It also is, it's staying at the university that you went to as an undergrad has some challenges. And there are interesting problems. There are great perks, but there are interesting problems to have. So when the opportunity to come up to go to Syracuse, knowing obviously Joey was at the helm, knowing how much support we had from a D1 program or a traditional D1 university, was extremely intriguing and interesting. And I was ready to make the jump. And it has allowed me to do a lot more. I've been kind of, I don't know how to exactly say it. I've been kind of chomping at the bit because we've been building spaces and I haven't been able to do as much as I used to, because at Shenandoah, we had already done that. We had already built it. We had already kind of had all the systems in place. So we were running events and we were doing all these things. Over the last year, I think we've only run 1 or 2 events because we're waiting on spaces to come online and other things. So I'm like revving to go this next semester. But like I said, Syracuse.
I was gonna say, like, the car was already built at Shenandoah. It was already moving. You guys you're building the car now, right? Like,
oh yeah. And it's like I said, it comes with good challenges because I've been able to do something that I wasn't allowed to do when I was at Shenandoah as a student. Right. I wasn't in like construction conversations and audio visual integration conversations in these different things. So this is kind of opened my eyes to a whole different side that like I was a little unknowingly blissed to when I was first coming through as a student.
Yeah.
But it's also like when you're so used to being able to run weekly shows at such a high level and run shows on the weekend as like a turnkey solution, and you have to kind of sit on your hands for a little bit. It was an interesting growth that I kind of had to go to, and I didn't think of that going into the job.
Yeah. Talk to me about the spaces, because I know you guys are in the process of opening your esports space on campus, and it's been a process to build and go through all of that. Like you said, talk to me a little bit about that space and what you see, your esports productions looking like there.
Yeah. So I'm excited for the next couple of years of what's coming. So when we got to Syracuse, we inherited one space. It was a very typical gaming lab setup.
Yeah.
It was 36 PCs in a straight row. It was 4 console areas, and it was a streaming booth, I will say with air quotes. We retrofit the streaming booth to at least fit 2 computers in there, put the casters out in the gaming lounge, and be able to make do with what we had this semester to get people started training up on vMix and other ways to do production.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that we were able to do that. I'm happy that we were able to give students that experience, but by no means is it ideal for the level of show that I would want to put on. We are opening our next facility in January. January 17th will be the grand opening of what is called the Shine, or the Gaming and Esports Center at the Shine Student Center. So it is a big arena / casual gamer vibe in the heart of campus, in the student center, with big glass walls. The chancellor of Syracuse really wanted to put something in that like public eye, so that it can get that attraction and attention. That student center might be one of the most foot traffic areas, definitely on campus, if not in the city of Syracuse, during school year. In that space, we'll be able to have about the same amount of PCs. I think it's about 34. 10 of them will be on stage. There will be 6 console areas. There will be 2 racing sims, 3 VR booths, and then my favorite, the production and casting area. So in the production area, we will have about 4 to, if I can get a couple more in there, maybe 5 or 6 positions inside the actual control room. We are integrating fully with the ROS system. So we will have students trained up on, I call them like game ready switchers. Like if you know how to use a ROS, you can go to news, Fox,
so many places,
ESPN, like we're getting the students the experience on really high level tech. And we picked ROS because our Syracuse is lucky enough to have one of the best communication schools in the country, Newhouse. That's what they use. Yeah. So it's really easy to integrate with any undergrad or graduate student that is in a already full-fledged what is it called? Like a degree program or anything like that. And if they want to get their hands on a different medium, instead of doing sports or news, if they want to try the esports side, we don't have to retrain a student. Right. We can get them kind of plugged in and ready to go off the rip. And then we'll have a casting area right next door that is intentionally set up to be, it's lit 360. So the idea is that we don't have studio lighting in one direction. We wanted, because it has a glass back, we wanted to make sure that if we're hosting an event on campus with people in the door and spectators and all that stuff, we can flip the casting desk, we can flip the camera, and you can peer out into the studio or into the gaming space so you can see the action. But if we're running an event that is off campus or online only or different things, you can turn it around, you can pull a green screen up, you can have the Syracuse kind of background, and you can run it that way. I'm really excited because we talked about adding a little bit of a junction out towards the front. So like I said, it has these glass walls at the front. Yep. And we ran a test event in the beginning of November and we put the casting desk out there purely because the broadcast and casting studio weren't done yet. The facility was only about 60% done when we did this test event. And we found that with the lights and the camera and the craziness that's going on with live production in the front, a lot of students were stopping and like doing the like Good Morning America feel, that they were standing there and watching as we were running production. And that was getting them to come in and be like, what is going on? What is this? This seems really interesting. So hopefully on full-fledged events, we'd be actually able to do both the casting desk and the analyst couch, let's call it, out front, so you can kind of have that back and forth. I love when you can integrate a show with that back and forth, because it takes out one of the most seen things in collegiate esports broadcast, a BRB screen.
Yep. I totally agree. And I think that's really cool, the visibility of the production, right? You know, at Full Sail, we're all into that too, right? You're able to see behind the scenes of what is happening, the students working through the things, and other students seeing it and going, whoa, that's cool. I want to do that. How do I sign up? You know, like, and that's such a continual thing that happens. And so I'm really excited to hear how that will continue to grow your program. Now, is this space open to all students at Syracuse, or is this just strictly varsity? You know, players are only able to play in there. How does that work?
This space will be open completely to all students, and we're even thinking about trying to get it open to the public. The stage may be behind bars, especially when we're like, that will be where they compete from, practice from, whatever. But the rest of the space is 100% open. We have the GG software throughout both of our spaces. It limits students to 3 hours a day, so that they're not spending 12 hours in there and skipping classes and all that. And I lost my train of thought with that. The idea for that space, because it's in such a high traffic area, is to get more people in the door. And it's something that we really want to tackle moving forward. Is, yes, we want people coming in and playing and enjoying the space and being a part of what is gaming and esports. But we also want to be very intentional with actually having people come in and interact with us from the esports side, from the live show side, make them fans of what's going on their campus.
Yeah, I like that. And I think the visibility brings a lot of opportunity of more people that are like, oh, well, we do esports here. You know, who knew, right? Like that's going to really help the program. So I'm excited for that. Obviously, like, pushing boundaries in the collegiate esports space from a broadcasting standpoint is really important. And we've already talked about just some of the things that you've done with the different events leading up to what you're doing now. What are you looking forward to? What do you have kind of in the back of your mind as where this is going, right? Like, where do you see collegiate broadcast moving forward through?
So I think it's a challenge that I enjoy, and it's the main reason why I wanted to stay in collegiate, is because I think there's so much untapped potential when it comes to live broadcast around competition, whether that be season matches or tournament matches. The two things that are kind of on my checklist over the next year are, one, what is the ability for us to kind of customize and create that next level show with being lucky enough to have the tech that we do. I want to make it easier for more people to start their journey in broadcast, and that is something I want to do. But I also want to show that if we're taking the time and the effort and the financials to put in this level of equipment, we need to get our bang for our buck. And we need to show as Syracuse that we are using this to its full extent. And I'm excited for that challenge because it's systems I've not worked on. I'm very literate in vMix and GT Titler and these things. So I have the basics to get to that next tech, but I don't know that tech. So not only do I need to figure it out and learn it, but I need to learn it to a level that I can teach my students, and get them using their creative thoughts and freedom to kind of tackle what comes next. And the other side, I kind of already alluded to it. I really, really would like to start to tap into the in-person experience of being at a competition. When we were in Atlanta, we were very fortunate to have a Bucks game at Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
And I went over and enjoyed that game. That stadium is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I really started, as I was sitting there and I was watching everything going on, I felt like we as esports and we as esports in collegiate definitely have not tapped into the in-person scene. And I know that that's not generally where a lot of viewers are coming from. Obviously, 90% or more are coming from online viewership, but we have the student population. We have people. I want to try to tackle the idea of like, can we get people to come in and enjoy it as an in-person social event? So that's something that I really, really want to kind of figure out and mess with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. I mean, especially for how it seems the collegiate space is moving to a more focused in-person, support, that building these foundations is going to be really important for the future of the space, right? And you see a lot of people talking online about, esports winter still, and the opportunities that collegiate can present, and fill that gap. So I think it's definitely exciting, and I think building the production to a level that you're going to have some schools stand out, and become real big leaders in that space, which is really exciting to see. From a broadcast standpoint, and that just elevates the next person, right? It's the rising tides lift all boats, right? At one school's doing something really cool, it's going to help another school do something really cool. So I'm excited for you guys to open. What do you say, January 17th?
Yep, January 17th will be our grand opening, ribbon cutting, the whole 9 yards.
All right,
so
I'll keep an eye on the inbox for the invite, and I'll see you there.
If you would love to brave the cold in January from Florida, you are more than welcome. I would love to have the Full Sail crew, but I would love to trade positions,
yes,
so that I can go enjoy sunny Florida.
Sunny Florida. Hey, it's like 40 in the morning, and so it is a little chilly here these days. But
I saw Sari. Sari had a very great tweet about how the coldness has taken over. So
it definitely has. But obviously, talking more about events, I think there's something to be said about the end of the event, something that the public that never sees, and that's kind of the breakdown of like, hey, how did this go? We do a debrief, we kind of post-mortem it and talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and what we learned. From your experience in production and with the events that you've done, what are some of the things that you've learned along the way that, hey, this didn't go the way that I initially planned, this is how it went, but now moving forward, we're aware of that? Like, what are those types of things that you've experienced on your journey that, maybe you didn't think about it before, but now moving forward, it's an ongoing thought?
I think one major thing is, again, I go back to like, to pull off a great event, you need a great team. And to have a great team, you need to have advocates for all sides of the event. So I think we've been very successful with the events that we have run because we have someone that is an advocate for the players and the competitors and what their experience is going to be. Yeah. You have someone like myself who's going to be an advocate for, well, we should try to push these games out because we're behind schedule, or you should try to hold a game so that we can get more people on the broadcast and other things like that. You have that advocate there. You have the advocate for spectators and other people in venue. All of these things, I think you may not be able to check every box. And that's something that I think a lot of people learn once you go through your first couple events. You may not be able to give the best experience to every single person in every single category. But making sure that from your team that are putting this event on, you're making sure that all voices are kind of heard.
Yeah.
I think another thing is just how much minute things go into making sure the event goes well. And I think you only get that from running events. It's really hard to like pick one thing. But there's always going to be something that goes wrong. There's always going to be something that spills or a cable breaks or whatever. And it's how you kind of respond to it that I think teams, players, everybody kind of cares more about than, especially in this industry. I think everyone knows something's going to go wrong. Something's going to happen. I mean, you saw it today. We couldn't get my audio to work at the beginning, and it's not because we've never done live broadcasts before. It just happens.
Yep.
And I think that I've learned that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to put the time, effort, and care in to make things better.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such a good point, because I think there's a lot of people, especially from a student standpoint, that are working these events and a mistake is made, and then is it a freeze or is it a move forward, right? And like the moving forward, hey, I made a mistake, but I'm fixing it, and we're taking the next step. And a lot of times the general public doesn't know about the events that the things that happened in events that didn't go well and almost broke the show, but the show went on and it still happened, and no one was the wiser, right? And those things happen on a daily basis on an event production, right? And so being able to turn, and make adjustments here or there, and when you make a mistake, you push through it and you move on to the next part of that, fixing that mistake, right, is a big deal. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Oh, sorry.
No, keep going, man.
I was just going to say that's why I love the analogy of like of a theatrical idea when it comes to these things, because no one knows if you missed your line unless you say, "Oh, I missed my line."
Yeah.
So as long as you continue to try and get through it, sometimes a mistake almost can lead to something even better. So I think that it's really important, and I think a lot of people have learned this, that students, when they get into a live event, 9 times out of 10 want to make sure that everything is perfect and they don't miss a beat, and that's just not sustainable. Yeah. If you can do it for one event, I mean,
huge.
Kudos to you. Like it's crazy. And I don't mean to say that as like it's bad. Like it just happens. Yeah. Some things are just out of your control. But getting students okay with the idea of like, you might have tripped a little bit. It's fine. As long as we keep moving and we keep moving forward, all will be good.
It's about how you react. And this is the time to learn, especially when we were talking about the collegiate space and being in an educational environment. Like, this is the time to learn. This is the time to have some mess ups. This is the time to, figure it out and figure out how to turn the corner. So I'm absolutely on board with that. The thing that I was going to bring up was, recently, obviously we were in Atlanta. We've referenced this a couple of times now. We had a great time. Shout out to the Park Bar.
Yes.
But at Atlanta, we were there for DreamHack, right? Primarily, we went to a Bucks game, but that's another story. But DreamHack, obviously, we're huge fans of DreamHack. I think you guys are as well. But you had the opportunity to, speak on the collegiate panel about production, and I would love for you to share with the audience a little bit about, kind of the talk and the panel that you did, and what went into that.
Yeah, so I was extremely lucky to be able to talk at DreamHack with a few of my friends, Chris Postel, TJ from UGA, and then Ben Kincaid from Shenandoah. And we got to enjoy just kind of like we're doing right now, just nerding out and enjoying about broadcast and live production. The one thing that I've kind of learned over the last year or so of being on these panels is just, I see it on a campus-wide level, but I think it goes farther than that. So many people are so timid to get into this type of field and work. People think that the barrier to entry is so high. And yes, I would love to see all of us be able to pull off a broadcast that looks like it can fit right next to ESPN. But to get people in the door, you don't need to be doing these things. You don't need to be shooting for the fences. And I think that in the spot that we are right now, we just need more people to be playing the game. Not to use a corny analogy. I just realized I did that. But we need more people just trying, getting more students involved, getting more programs involved. Because it's another saying that is so used in this industry, but a rising tide raises all ships. The idea of bringing everyone's kind of come up in this side, it's just kind of helping people to get to the starting. And that's where I've kind of shifted a lot of my conversations is like, I've talked about all these different things when it comes to like different roles and different tech and all these things. And I had a conversation with Jono from Michigan State. And it very much is the fact of like, we just need more people to try. And see who enjoys and see what happens and increase that creative side of all these different people trying to tell the story. So yeah, I've really shifted my conversation at panels and different things to try to help people open that door and realize that it's not that scary on the other side. We can start with an OBS stream and one or two computers and just kind of get the ball rolling. We don't need to be shooting for a $10,000 switcher when some programs don't even have that for a yearly budget, right? Like, I don't think it's fair to ask people to go that far, but I am really trying to hope to get more people to get involved and try.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the try part and just, you never know what you're going to experience. I mean, even yourself, you talk about coming to school for soccer and loving that, and then things went a different way and you tried something new and look at you now, you have a whole career in it. Like that's a great story in itself, right? And same thing for, content creation. Like that's always the thing that I say, like just start doing it. Nothing's holding you back, nothing's stopping you. Just go out there and start. You don't have to have a whole lot to get there, whether that's OBS, and next thing you know, you're going to be working vMix and all the other things down the road, but it's got to start somewhere and you got to put in that effort, which is really good. I've been ignoring some questions from chat because I see a lot of them now, and now we got to ask some questions. So the first one comes from Samurai Tank. She asks, I hear you talk a lot about the tremendous amount of opportunity there is in front of you, in front of all of us. How do you prioritize these opportunities, or how do you decide what to focus on first?
I would say it's kind of twofold. It's either we prioritize where our student interest is, or we prioritize where our strategic goals are, and hopefully both of those align every time. But I think it's really important that if we're going to go down an endeavor, we have a student body that wants to go down an endeavor. And if it's an opportunity or a goal of ours, kind of figuring out why it is, how we can do it, and all these other things. But I think those are the two of the driving factors of like, with all of the opportunity that is out there when it comes to live production, that's kind of where we are. That's how we kind of chart our course.
Right. Yeah, I like that. We have, like I said, I was kind of ignoring them for a little bit. So we've built up a pool of questions here. Travis Yang asks, what's an area of collegiate you think is being missed / can be worked on production wise?
So I don't have an exact answer. I have ideas, but I would like to try to, as much as I want everyone to get involved and I want people to, like we were just talking about, try and take on the idea of what is broadcasting, I really would like to see us raise the bar of what the minimum is.
Yeah.
And increasing what is possible, even with very little tech experience or knowledge of broadcast or other things. I would like to increase the knowledge base to then increase what is a base level broadcast. What is your strategy going in if you're going to take it on, even if it is in OBS or Streamlabs? What are the assets that you need? What are the ways you run through a show? I think it's no fault to anyone, but I would really like to see what we think of as the, I guess, quote unquote, bare minimum, be raised to a higher level.
Yeah, I like that. I like elevating it, right? Stages, maybe. Like we start here, but that's a week or two, and then we're now taking it to the next level. I think this is Joey asking this question. How do you help give students more ownership of their responsibilities on a broadcast and convert them into leaders?
So I'm going to steal a term from Joey Gruziak, and he always said that within an esports program, you need your champions. And I think that is still true in broadcast. Obviously, I mean, these are 18 to 22-year-olds. There are other priorities other than doing a stream on a Friday night, right? But there are some students that really want to jump in and kind of get their hands dirty. And I think the first step is understanding who those students are. And then the second step is, I've had to learn this in my transition from student leader to admin leader, but you need to figure out the correct times to just kind of let them go and be behind them. Make sure that nothing crashes and burns. Make sure that nothing terrible goes on, but give them the tools and then give them a space where they can, in all reality, mess up and learn from that and be there to pick them up when they mess up. But also, they will get more confident, and then they will be able to understand that, like, oh, I have an idea, I can do it this way. And that's something that I've had to learn is when I transitioned, I still wanted my hands kind of in everything. I wanted to try to lead from the front.
Yep.
And I think there are still times where that matters. But for general use or for other things, we just need to give them the tools and the training to understand what's going on, and then give them the opportunity to try to be creative in this creative space.
It's hard to let go of the wheel sometimes, for sure. For sure. But it is important. And when you do it and they maybe swerve a little bit at first, you know, but they get the hang of it. And I think that's a powerful thing. So completely agree with you there. We've got another one from Jacob's Nachos. What are some ways to promote and engage a live audience when it comes to your events?
So it's something, I might be giving away some secret sauce, but it's something that we're going to
give it, you know, no one's listening. It's not like this is recorded or anything, you know.
It's something that we're going to try to do as we have this new space online. My goal is to try to create a different experience in person than it is online. Currently, from what I observe in the industry, is there isn't that much of a difference depending on if you're watching in the stadium or watching in the seats in person, or if you're watching at home. It's kind of the same feed. It's kind of the same things going on. One of the first things I observed again, this was kind of an idea that came across in Atlanta. Our experience of that football game is not the same thing as if we were at B-Dubs on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And that's what traditional sports does. And there, I think, are ways that we can better represent an in-person experience for students and fans, rather than we have a video board, we have monitors, we have projectors. Here's the same feed. Here are the same casters. Here are the same whatever is going on. There are obviously tech and personnel limitations that come in with that idea. But that would be my first thing that we're trying to shoot for, is for the students that are on campus, for the fans that are in Syracuse, how do you make it worthwhile for them to come in and enjoy the experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And having those two different shows is really important, because you want to encourage people to come back. Like, if they had a good time at your show, they're going to be like, hey, this was awesome. I want to tell all my friends about it and bring them next time. And I think that's a huge deal and an important piece of that live, you know, broadcast that you're doing, that live event. Obviously the stream is still important. You know, those things don't change, right? Like, that's a large majority of where your viewership's coming from. But having something special to bring people and engage the people live is super important. Getting back into kind of your role, how would you encourage students that are interested in pursuing, you know, careers in esports production? What sort of advice are you giving them? Is there, do you have opportunities to mentor students? Like, what does that look like for you in your position?
So at Syracuse, we're lucky enough to have the ability to hire a lot of people for work study positions.
Yep.
And that is usually the easiest way for people to kind of start and get in the door. The biggest thing is I try to make sure, and like I said previously, a lot of people are nervous. A lot of people think that this is like it might as well be cybersecurity when it comes to like the production or content creation or other things. They think that starting is so much farther away than I think it truly is. So my job as the administrator is to get them to take that leap and realize it's not that deep. It's not that far. It's not this ungodly idea to kind of get in the door. And like I said, I'm very lucky that we can have students come in and trial and learn and experience these different areas, and they can do it as they're their job for the university. And they can learn and experience all these different things. The other idea that I have is, unless someone already knows exactly, like, I love having a camera in my hand, I'm a really good photographer or videographer, that's what I want to do. Any of the new students, I try to encourage to kind of see where they want to get involved. Maybe for whatever reason, you love 3D modeling and now you want to work in Unreal. That's amazing. You will have a career for the entire time you want to work.
Yeah.
If you have that skill set and you have that enjoyment. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to be in social media and running accounts and making goofy tweets and making people interact and other things. So that would be another way, is that, like, I not only want to lower the barrier to entry, but I also want to make sure that they know that they can try many different things until they land on the thing that they enjoy.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a big part of what our student event crew does, is they get to get their hands dirty with all sorts of different types of positions, right? They're working on running the camera. The next thing they're doing is the lights, and they eventually are going to land on one and go, hey, I like that. Can I do that moving forward? Like, I want to run, EVS. Like, okay, cool. Yes, this is your job now. This is all you're going to do. And when they find that, it's a huge, huge, awesome celebrating moment, because you found that thing that's pushing you into that career, right? So I'm always trying to figure out ways to encourage students to try new things and we'll try this, maybe you like this more, or maybe you will hate it and you will know that thing over there that you were doing before is way better. So it gives you perspective, I think. And that's always really important in these, and especially for any student going through this, just really kind of being the sponge and taking things in is important.
I think from the creative side also, and it could be purely from personal experience. If you're going to be in the creative side, it's really hard for you to find the thing that you love unless you try it all. And usually you think you like something, and it's not wrong. You probably do like that thing. But you might like something even more. And I think a lot of creatives go through that. Even we talked about it. I started from photography to video editing to live production. And that's when I was like, yeah, that's the thing that really gets me going. Like, that's what I want to do. But you don't know unless you try.
Absolutely. I know there's been comparisons to the live production aspect and game comms sometimes. A lot of times they're both high intensity situations where you're going back and forth, something's happening. For you in your productions and what you guys are doing, how do you foster and collaboration and teamwork in those high pressure, moments and environments?
I think it's being very intentional with when is the right time. Right. So if we're running a Calling All Heroes event.
Oh no. I think we may have lost Sean on the last question. Let's see if he comes back. Sean. Oh. We will try to pull him back in. Sean, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
My internet just went down.
Okay. Well, it seemed like you had a great answer. Let me see if I can turn this back on. There you are.
Am I here?
I think you're here.
I can't believe I got frozen with my tongue out trying to talk.
You did. It wasn't there. At least I don't think it was. We'll have to watch the VOD.
Oh my God. I got I heard Bennett go, uh-oh, or and I saw everything.
Hey, this is exactly what we're talking about, though. These high pressure moments when things didn't go exactly as you planned, and here we are, right?
Oh my God, my poor internet, dude. Apparently I don't know how this works. Apparently I lost Ethernet, but I'm on Wi-Fi. That's trustworthy.
That's that's how it works.
We can keep it rocking. but I might crash out again.
I feel like
warning.
we're at the tail end of our conversation. So the first and foremost, I want you to be able to give yourself a shout out, tell people where to find you, how to reach out to you if they ever have questions, all of those things. Where can people find you, Sean?
Yeah, so on Twitter, I am @_NJSK and at Discord NJSK. I am always I saw that. Sorry. I'm always down to talk production, content creation. I'm always down to help if there's the ability. Maybe at some point, Full Sail might want to have somebody come down and help with production. I don't know. But I'm always kind of open. Doors are always open. I would love to talk and continue to do things like this. So.
Absolutely. I love it. Final question comes from Travis Yang. Sean, who's your favorite coworker and that does competition? I'm assuming that's Travis.
I think my favorite competition person would be Nikita Bear, who runs our Melee weeklies.
There we go. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on the show, man. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you. We will have to... I don't know if we'll make it the 17th or not, but we will definitely catch up. But thank you so much for being on the show. Our 50th episode is looking like it's going to be coming on December 12th, which is next week. And you'll have to just stay tuned for that. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.